Have you ever wanted your own internet in your pocket? It wasn't dependent on anything. It wasn't, it didn't need service. It didn't matter where you were, underwater in a dive bell or in the middle of the mountains. You needed access to tons of information, whether that's for fixing your car, flying an airplane, coding a computer, tying a knot, whatever it may be. You wanted something that you could easily pull up and search information on. Well, you probably are the person who would want that kind of thing because you found yourself at this channel. And if you found yourself at this channel, you're likely intimately familiar with the base station unit. Now, the base station unit was a wildly successful product, but one of the things that we were doing market testing, things you do for businesses, is you try and figure out what people need out of it and what they don't need out of it. And one of the things that we evaluated with the full-size base station was that most people just wanted the internet in a box aspect. They weren't going to take advantage of all of the different HF radio communication abilities or all the different decentralized things that the GRIDBASE base station can do. It's a very powerful thing, and it's almost infinite in nature due to the fact that it's open source, but most people really just wanted to be able to turn something on and have the internet in their hand. So, recognizing that that was the case, we set out and developed this. This is Pocket. Pocket is a grid-down resource to have the internet available to you on any device, anywhere in the world, any time of the day. With over 300 gigs of information on here, it can be a little bit difficult to discuss what's on it and how do I use it. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about today. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about the three main categories that are on Pocket, how you use them, how you interface with them, and how you search them. So let's go to the computer and let's take a look at all the different things that you can do with Pocket. Now, Pocket is a very simple and easy to use device, but I've taken it out of its case here so that I can show you some of the finer details. Typically, it's in a water-resistant, shock-resistant case from S3 Cases, an awesome case company out of Denver, Colorado. But today, I wanted to take it out of its case and give you a little bit of an inside look at what's going on here. So, the first thing is this right here is a micro USB port, and it supports direct charging. So, if the battery dies, you can just plug in a micro USB and power it on that way. However, for today's use, we're actually going to utilize the battery. Now, the battery has a 4-hour active life and a 12-hour standby life, and really only takes about 30 minutes to charge up. But once we turn it on, we'll see this LED flash, and in a minute, we'll go over to the computer and I'll show you how we're going to begin interfacing with our off-grid internet. Now, Pocket can be used with any device that has Wi-Fi connectivity ability and a browser. So that pretty much covers any Android, iPhone, tablet, laptop, desktop. It almost covers the entire spectrum of things that we use to watch videos like this. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to be using this iMac here, and we're going to be interfacing with the Pocket through the iMac. So let's move over there, and I'm going to start screen videoing so you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so the first thing we'll come over here and do is come over to our network preferences, and I just want to show you that we're not connected to anything here other than to our Pocket, which we already had turned on earlier and automatically generated this Wi-Fi for us to connect to. So we're connected to the Pocket, and let's go over here to Google Chrome or whatever browser you choose and type in pocket.hotspot. Now this is our landing page. This is what has all of the information that we want to get. Now, there's different ways to get this information, and I want to talk about the three different ways there are to get this information. The first way is by referencing a Q&A. A Q&A is basically a localized Google for a particular topic. So inside of Pocket, there's a different Q&A for many different topics: aviation maintenance, piloting, motor vehicle maintenance, home brewing, gardening, woodworking, all kinds of stuff, chemistry, medical, all of those things. And I'll post a link down below to a full list of the different Q&As that are available in all of the repos on Pocket. But I want to show you how we search a Q&A. And lately I've been really into HF radio, so I'm going to come over here to the Amateur Radio Stack Exchange, and I just want to search NVIS. Now, these are the highest voted NVIS questions. And we can take a look at some of these questions. Let's see this top one here. Okay, so this guy's got a question, and here's some answers. Now, what if we wanted to know more about propagation? We can follow this link into propagation, and this is a whole lot of information on HF skywave propagation, near vertical incidence. Yeah, so very cool stuff. Very cool stuff for the amateur radio. We could also go into, one of my favorites is the motor vehicle maintenance and repair. So here we are. I used to have a Ford that had a 4.9 liter straight six in it. And here's some questions on the 4.9 liter straight six. But let's just take a look at Ford F-150s in general. These are the top however many questions on Ford F-150s in particular. We could search really anything we want to on here. Let's just search van. Let's see, van sliding for door won't shut. Here we go. So again, we want to use a particular Q&A to get a particular answer, and we can do that by referencing the Q&As. But in some of these, there's actually a more specific dedicated repo. And the one I want to show you for that is the PostDisaster Resource Library. Now, the PostDisaster Resource Library is not a Q&A. It is a collection of a bunch of different PDFs. A few of my favorites in here are the Marine Corps Summer Survival Course. This has just got a ton of really invaluable information on it, such as how to filter water using stuff you can find in the field. But the great thing is there's also one for the winter. So here we go. There's a USMC Winter Survival Course. And we've got a bunch of information here on how to build fires and keep warm and build wind dams and all kinds of other stuff. So I've shown you an example of how we can use the Q&A to search things, and I've shown you an example of how we find things in specific libraries. But what if what you want to search for is a little more esoteric than that? Well, for that, you can just come down into the Wikipedia, and we have all of Wikipedia at our disposal. So let's search tannerite. Here we go. This is the tannerite Wikipedia page. And we can follow binary explosives, learn more about them and how they work. So if something is unavailable to you in a specific Q&A, or if something is unavailable to you in one of the collected libraries, you can just always reference Wikipedia to find the answer you're looking for. I'll go through a couple more examples of some of the dedicated libraries. One of my favorites is Project Gutenberg. There's only over 55,000 books in English that we can search on Project Gutenberg. Now, this is a collected library. It is a very large library, but this library is more centered around morale. That's really the type of thing that you get to enjoy whenever you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from, and it's something that we almost certainly will never prioritize to pack in our go bag, right? We're not going to take a bunch of DVDs in our DVD players so that once everything's good to go, we have some information and infotainment, entertainment. We've got things to play around with. No, it's not something that any of us would ever prioritize. And I think that's an interesting but often missed thing about community rebuilding in post-disaster situations is rebuilding community, having arts and the finer things in life, music and education and those types of things. And I really believe that that's one of the areas where Pocket shines nicely. Scene 1, a public place. So I'm not really a huge Shakespeare fan, but you get the idea. Now, while we're on the topic of morale, there's a whole bunch of TED Talks that are on here that are categorized differently. So as an example, how to overcome your fears, or another example is how to be a great leader. Let's take a look at that one. Now, because I'm screen recording, I won't be able to demonstrate the audio, but the audio does play. So we'll go in here and hit play. And since I can't do the audio here, what I can do is come in and find the English subtitles, and I can choose those English subtitles. Oh, well, hey, look, we are getting audio. I didn't think it would do that since we were screen recording. What a wonderful surprise. So here we are.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you why?
So you can see here that there's a lot more information than just the necessities, just the bare bones of what we need to survive. There's actually what life is all about inside of here with entertainment and arts and music. And I believe, again, that that's what supports community rehabilitation. Now, it would be impossible for me to go through every single, all 55,000 books that are in one repository, but what I'm going to do is post a link down below with basically a screenshot of the home screen and what it looks like, and maybe then you can get a good idea of all of the different things that are searchable. I appreciate your support in this project. Your support is what's helped get me this far, and you can support by subscribing to the Patreon. Just search GRIDBASE on Patreon and you'll find us. There's also going to be a link below in this video. If you're interested in purchasing a Pocket, why don't you just send me an email, info@gridbase.net, and I'll put you on a pre-order list for whenever it comes out. And I think I said it before, but everything you saw today is also available on the full-size unit. This is just a deployable hotspot that I personally keep in my fanny pack or my bag or my truck. Sometimes I keep it in a Faraday bag with an old iPhone and shove it in my gun case, or take it with me on the plane whenever I don't have internet there. I've got one customer who works in a diving bell, and he uses one of these, not necessarily the Pocket because I haven't sold them yet, but he uses the full-size unit for a lot of what we're talking about here. Thank you for your continued support. Your feedback and your support is what's driven this project to this level, and I know that people are going to find a use for it, and I know that it's going to be majorly beneficial in the years and decades and centuries to come. You have your own Pocket Library Alexandria. How cool. I love it. But I think that's obvious. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.